KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
It's the weekend!
Warriors! Warriors! Come on to play!
Yeah! Here we go! You're right. Good NFL Sunday morning, everybody. We are broadcasting live from the Weekend Warriors studios in beautiful Peoria, Arizona. I'm Ralph Romano, alongside my partner in crime, the legend, Neil Lynch. And we have Phil Amrine in the control room. And this is the Weekend Warriors Football Sunday edition, week number 4.
So, everybody, if you're listening here, to contrast the bombastic voice we just heard, get involved in the show. Join us on the text line. That's 888-368-1580. Say hi. Tell us who you're picking this week. Render your opinion about anything that Ralph says, because it's usually interesting. And you can get involved in the segment later on in the show where we ask Scott the King some timely fantasy football advice to set your rosters right for the next couple of hours. But hey, remember, join us. Doesn't matter how you join us. Doesn't matter when or what the circumstances are. Get on that text line 888-368-1580.
I feel like I'm either watching like love music at like 11 o'clock at night on the radio, or I just called an 800 number.
Do you remember those commercials at like 2 in the morning where you're like, they were selling like Time Life presents like slow jams of the 70s?
Slow jams.
It's like R&B groove.
Wow.
That's great.
All right, man. So week number 4. Let's always do first and foremost, we look quickly at week number 3. Just some highlights.
Can we look really quickly?
Really quickly. I got one that
quickly.
blows me away. It's a highlight from last week.
Okay. What was that?
Bo Nix-led Broncos handed Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers their first loss of the season.
Yeah, baby.
Congratulations.
I still don't understand that one.
And thank God I picked it in our weekly picks, because nobody believed in them except for me. Me, Philip Amrine, and I picked the Broncos. Wait, what is that?
Did you pick? No, you didn't pick them.
Well, you know what? It's not important, Ralph. We won. We won, baby.
I remember this. I remember specifically you saying, yeah, the Broncos, and I'm taking the other team. I was like,
yeah, it was a bit of an oversight. I mean, look, I didn't realize that Baker Mayfield was going to just allow Bo Nix to just become like the MVP of week 3, but God bless him. God bless him. We love it. We love having ourselves a Bo Nix kind of a day. We want Bo. We want Mo Bo.
See, and that's the problem with Baker Mayfield, is that you just don't know which version you're going to get, because he should be trending a certain direction and then setback like last week. So, yeah, that was rough. I was happy for Phil, though, to be honest.
It was funny. I think you texted me and you were like, he was pretty excited that it was happening, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. It was like the last thing I thought would happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost was as impressive as watching the Rams pull off that comeback against the Niners last week.
That was
incredibly
impressive.
That was the best thing for all three of us to just be so happy that we got wrong.
Yeah,
all three. Because remember, going into that week and that pick, we were like, the 49ers, but none of us feel that great about it. But man, was that just not Schadenfreude personified in the flesh right there? And then Sean McVay giving him the little brother love tap on top of his dome, saying,
That's
"Hey,
funny.
you can get us next time, guys." But we got this one. God, that was beautiful.
That was enjoyable.
Oh, I relished
to see the
every
Niners
moment
at
of that.
1 and 2 is very enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm starting to, as much as I love the Niners fan base here, and we've talked about that many times in the past, which is actually true. I sometimes wonder if they are approaching obnoxious status, like on par with the Cowboys. Some would argue they're already there. I don't know if that's the case, but
I think they are.
I don't know, man.
Now, granted, the guys over here that you go talk with, I can't remember his name.
Niners Empire Desert West.
They're
that
really
fan
cool
club,
guys.
The fan club there is fantastic. Like
Yeah.
I do love them, but outside of that, outside of the Valley per se, yeah, I just think, yeah, I feel like, and I noticed this too on social media. There seems to be a really strong sentiment. Just there's a lot of anti-Niners content put out right after they drop that game. So
it's because of all the content they put out before the game and during the game.
Yeah,
Yes.
if I have to see Bang Bang Niner Gang just one more time on any social media feed before any game, before any hint of a positive 49ers news outlet releasing something, my goodness.
Well, we know what we're getting Phil for Christmas.
Yep, that's easy.
I have a shirt. It's gonna be Bang Bang Niner Gang, but I ain't gonna say Niner Gang. I can assure you.
Our first text on the text line from Sir Drives a Lot says, "Good football Sunday to you." Same to you there, buddy.
Woohoo!
Congrats to the Dodger fan. Ugh.
Well,
this isn't a baseball show.
We're not going to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about the number 1 seeded Dodgers right now, but I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
We'll let that go. I have a lot to say. I could spend an hour on the Dodgers, but we're not going to do that today.
We're not going to do that because this is football. This is the National Football League.
Another great moment from last week was Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Man, what a statement victory over the Bengals. I mean, Jaden Daniels was dropping dimes last week. That was just sick.
I can't wait to talk about that when we talk about the matchup next segment. But yeah, that was that. I start to wonder maybe Keon knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Commandos.
Maybe
that was impressive, absolutely. And man, putting the Bengals at 0-3, that's rough.
Yikes.
Super rough.
And then a couple other really quick ones. The Eagles beating the Saints. I thought that was a good game. The Saints are better than we thought. I mean, they actually were in that game. The Steelers down in the Chargers was interesting to see the Steelers go 3-0. The Chargers are better than people thought they were, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, and that's going to play out in the next couple weeks for sure. We'll talk about it today with Herbert being injured, but or nursing his injury, whatever the case is.
The Bills just drop kicking the Jaguars, I thought was just a wow on Monday night.
Yeah, like they showed, what was it? One of the I saw on social media. I think it was a wife of one of the players. The third quarter break, they're like singing "Mr. Brightside." Like the Bills were so loose that game. They're just like, you know what, this game's over. It's in the refrigerator. The whole bit. I was very surprised. Again, I shouldn't be. I'm beginning to question my Green Bay fandom, honestly, because you think Malik Jacobs. That's his name, right? I get it confused with Malik
Willis.
Whatever his name
Malik
is.
Jacobs?
He's mixing up Josh Jacobs in Malik Willis's body because of how much he's running around and how he's enjoying this 52 game rushing attempts and that is historic.
That's exact. You know what? I absolutely I got that confused. At least I didn't call Malik Neighbors. Okay, give me credit for that. He keeps winning, and they keep game planning in a way that makes him successful. And of course, I don't know what the official word is, but there is speculation that Jordan Love's going to start this week. How good is he going to be? I don't know. Listen, we're
going to talk about that.
Yeah, I know. But seriously, it's like I keep doubting the Packers, and they keep proving me wrong. So I'm starting to question my true Green Bay fandom at this point.
We'll get to that. Here is my ultimate from last week. This is the ultimate of ultimates. And no, it's not the Seahawks going 3-0.
I was going to say,
it's not.
Beat me to it.
No, it's not that. It's Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers putting on a show.
Yeah, baby. Raise your hand if you saw that coming.
Yeah, no one's hand is up.
No one's hands up.
What the heck?
Phil, I've adopted your nickname for him, the Red Rifle.
The Red Rifle.
I love it. The Red Rifle.
There's the real bang bang right there. Man, throwing darts to Deontay Johnson. Look, I think that was something that I will admit that I was, if you're a betting person, and we got certain radio shows that you can certainly listen to if you're more inclined to that. But I was somebody who was thinking to take the points with the Carolina Panthers because the fact that you thought that the line only went down 1.5 to 2 points from the change from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton, that is just disrespectful. And we saw it play out on the field like that. Bryce Young is, God bless him, seems like a great guy, seems like a wonderful person, but just seems absolutely ineffectual as a quarterback, as an NFL quarterback. And Andy Dalton has been a quarterback around the NFL circles for quite some time, knows how to play the position, knows how to just manage a game, and certainly displayed that and more on against the Raiders, and God bless that he did it against the Raiders. But oh my God.
Is it Bryce Young just in that system not fitting and they don't really want him there?
This is two systems now against two offensive-minded head coaches.
So maybe you just think he's a bust.
Who do you trust to? I mean, if news comes out today that he got traded to, I don't know. The 49ers, do you think he works there? I don't think so. If you think he goes to the Rams with Sean McVay, another offensive wonderkind, do you think he works there? No. Hey, do you think that if he goes to Green Bay with what Matt LaFleur is doing with Malik Willis, do you think he could do that with Bryce Young? I don't think so. I think he's just going to be out, unfortunately.
I think where he needs to go, honestly, go to Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense does kind of fit him. He can go work with Tua on it. And maybe he can resurrect from there. But I just don't think he's going to be successful in Carolina. And I think if Dalton comes out here and wins a few more games, he becomes expendable.
He's toast at that point. By the way, Phil, did you grow up in the South? Are you from the South?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Why?
'Cause when you were talking about Bryce Young, you're like, bless your heart. Bless your heart, Bryce. You're a good human being. Bless your heart is the precursor to any insult in the South ever.
Yeah, it's like with all due respect. It's get ready. Hunker down. You know that something inflammatory is coming your way.
Bless. I'm going to start saying that to you, Ralph.
But yeah, so we are looking forward on all the games. I know that looking at another game here would be the Chargers against the Steelers.
Yeah.
It was a defensive battle. Both teams were looking to run, and we looked at a 10-20 ugly win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields ran it in for a touchdown in this game. The Chargers also came away with a starting quarterback injury that really maligned the entire offense, especially in, I want to say the second half was when Justin Herbert really came up lame there. Look, Justin Fields is now 3-0. And
that's right.
We're looking at the Chicago Bears, and they're having a lot of the same metrics. Sometimes this is an organizational thing. Sometimes when you're looking around at the NFL landscape and you're placing blame on who is at fault, who is the reason why that any certain result happens, it's not just on the quarterback. The quarterback, I think, can take a lot of the ownership of the blame and the credit. But I think that the Steelers specifically, Neil, it sounds like you guys are back. Looks like Justin Fields is just a revelation down there in Pittsburgh.
Yep, I think so.
And we got a chat. We got a chat on X from Blissful Hayes saying, "Good morning, Ralph, Neil, and Filthy Phil.
Good morning.
Great
Filthy.
show, and go Bears." I think the Bears are going to have a good day today. We'll see.
You think so?
You would hope so.
We'll talk more about that.
We'll talk more about that.
Hey, so I know we're running out of the first segment here, but I wanted to bring up the 5 undefeated teams that we have left, real quick.
So we don't have to talk about Cowboys Giants. Thank goodness.
No, so we know the obvious ones, right? The Chiefs, that makes a lot of sense. I expect them to be 3-0, right? The Chiefs are just a good team,
right?
I'm a little surprised by Buffalo, but I'm really not. I mean, Buffalo is a talented team. I think Allen has kind of figuring out his receivers, and he's using them really well, and so they're undefeated, 3-0. Here's where it gets weird. The Steelers are 3-0. You were just talking about that, right? That they're 3-0 and they're
So here's what's happening. Russell Wilson's like, "Hey guys, my calf's better," and the team's going, "What? We can't hear you. What?
Who are you again?"
Oh, my other ankle. Okay, you're out for a couple more weeks. Sorry, Justin, you're our starter. That's what's happening. If I were them, I would keep Russell Wilson as far away from the starting job as possible at this point.
Okay, and that might happen.
Yes.
The other two are the Minnesota Vikings, which no one saw coming.
No. Is that a lock for NFL Coach of the Year right there for Kevin O'Connell?
At the moment,
goodness.
I think
at the
so.
moment, yeah.
I think so.
And then the final one, of course, is the Seahawks, which no one saw either. They thought they'd win 5 games.
Not even you, Ralph, right?
I'm
like
gonna
you, in your wildest wet
I
dreams.
didn't see them 3-0.
Yeah, no.
I didn't see them 3-0.
Just so you know, Phil, we had a bet way earlier in the season that it was basically we're betting a dinner at Arrowhead Grill, which seems to be the place that Ralph goes. Ralph goes there like 4 days a week. They know him by name. We had a bet going that if the Seahawks finish last in the I'll set NL West, the NFC West, that he would buy me a steak dinner, and if they didn't, I would buy him a steak dinner. Let's put it this way: I'm starting to save up my money.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have a feeling. I feel I might be losing that bet.
Yeah, even though they have the owner of Arrowhead Grill has a yacht in Ralph's name, I think that you're gonna be owning like a little buoy, like a little lifesaver there.
A little buoy.
The Italian Stallion, is that the name of his boat?
Yeah, exactly. Because of how much Ralph is going to be double fisting there, some steak and lobster over there.
Nice.
You know, one in each.
I like it.
Okay, my last thing to talk about in the first segment, special mention. The 2-1. There's a couple of 2-1 teams I wanted to give a special mention to. The Saints, no one saw them at 2-1. I didn't see them at 2-1.
Better than people thought.
Chargers, people were like, you never know what's going to happen with Harbaugh, but they're sitting at 2-1.
I think that was upside. I feel like people wanted it to be good, but even if you've done it before, transitioning back from college into the pros is tough, but apparently Harbaugh's making it easy. So.
Yeah. And then my final one, the honorable mention, would be the Commanders.
The Commandos.
Surprising.
I think they're surprising. I think Jaden Daniels just is better than people might have even thought. I mean, right now, out of the draft, he's the best-looking quarterback that there is.
Yes.
But also keep in mind, it was him and Bo Nix as two of the older ones. People, I mean, that's the reason why I thought Bo Nix had potential to be the best rookie, just at least for this season. I think Caleb Williams, everybody still believes, has a tremendous upside there. But Jaden Daniels is among the older quarterbacks. So, and plus, you're going to a very quarterback-friendly system with Cliff Kingsbury down there. I mean, say what you will for Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, can certainly dial some stuff up for a mobile quarterback.
Thailand. Sorry. Oh, excuse
wow.
me. Sorry, I had a little scratch in my throat.
Yeah,
I
just
apologize.
my
What were you
goodness,
saying?
man.
You didn't what, Neil?
Thailand. What?
No, you were talking about what, Caleb Williams. What'd you say?
Caleb Williams?
Yeah, you don't think he's.
Oh,
that
I'm starting to sour on Caleb Williams.
Wow,
Yikes.
that's
Wow,
quick.
that is.
I think.
Wow.
I think he might have to change his nail polish. That's really what it comes down to.
I'm just hearing a Packers fan somewhere in there. My goodness, that is outrageously early.
I'm biased? No, I'm never. I am completely subjective. Go Paco. So yeah, exactly. Actually, no. To be fair, I actually.
To be fair.
Yeah, He needs to have a good game really soon, I think.
Well, he needs to get protected really soon.
Well, okay. Yeah,
I mean,
no,
come on.
exactly.
Yeah, look at the games that he's played. I mean, the Colts, he should have performed better. Anthony Richardson was trying to say, please take this game. But the first two games, and he wouldn't do it. But the first two games were some very, very difficult defenses to face as a rookie. He wasn't getting the layup that Jaden Daniels was as a pass defense that the Cincinnati Bengals offer.
That's true.
He hasn't had that yet. He will have that today with the Los Angeles Rams, and so we certainly can hold higher expectations today. But at least for 2 out of those 3 games that he's been awful in, absolutely awful in, I think you can give him some grace, a little bit of grace.
I think so, and also too on social media, I saw a lot of people were just dragging the Bears' offensive line because there's that play at the goal line. I think it was last week where he had to, it was 4th and goal, and he had to roll out to his left or he handed off to his left, and I have never seen a worse looking offensive line in my life. They were all on their butts, on the ground before, I think right after the ball went into the running back's hands. So it's like, yeah, they've got to fix that problem. They have some real systemic issues. So but again, I've been kind of questionable on Caleb Williams the whole time, and mainly just to counteract Ralph because he's such a homer. But
whatever.
Listen, I hope he has a good game this week for his sake.
Watch out, guys. Neil is placing his own questionable tag on Caleb Williams.
That's right.
Entering today's game.
You know what that tag means? Nothing.
Nothing.
All right. Last question real quick. I know we have to go to break. The 5 teams that are undefeated, who makes the playoffs? Do the Chiefs make the playoffs?
Yeah, of course.
The Bills make the playoffs?
Yes.
Yes.
Steelers?
Yes.
I'm a maybe.
I'm going to maybe too. Vikings?
Yes,
Yes.
they will.
Yes, I will go yes.
Seahawks?
No.
I'm as strong as I can say this, maybe.
I'm a maybe too.
Yeah. Let's enjoy it while we can.
All right, so we got to go to break. When we get back, we're going to start talking about the Cardinals and Commanders game. That's a really good game this week. We'll get into that and other stuff. It's the Weekend Warriors Football Sunday on 1580, The Fanatic.
You're alive.
It's a Weekend Warriors
What
on
the-
1580,
What just
The Fanatic.
happened?
Ralph, we are on air. You are not allowed to do that
Can't
while
sing?
on air.
Come on.
Oh, sing. Got it.
Is that what that was?
If you or a loved one are having a stroke, call this number. Actually, if you and your loved one are interested in getting on the show, text us on the Fanatic text line, 888-368-1580. That's 888-368-1580. That was awesome.
Or join us on X Chat like Blissful Hayes is doing. And we're about to talk about the Cardinal game, and he says Cardinals have a lot of pressure today with Kingsbury returning. Should be a good game.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. Let's talk about it right now, in fact.
Well, we got one text also. We got Sir Drives a Lot saying, I'm interested. Can I be on? Can you be on what?
Can you be on?
Be on the gravy train for the Broncos? Yes, you can. You too can join.
That's right.
All right, so let's talk this Cardinal game.
Yes.
This is, again, the second straight week, I think, is another good game. Here's my key matchups, my key points, and then you guys can get into it and we'll talk, and then we'll discuss. Okay? So, to me, one of the key matchups is going to be that Cardinals offensive line versus the Commanders pass rush. And this is why I say this. If the Commanders can apply pressure to Kyler Murray, I think they can kind of mess up the whole rhythm of Kyler and what he's going to try to do, because their secondary is so bad. It's bad.
It is very bad.
If you give Kyler Murray any kind of time today, he is going to throw up numbers like you saw a couple weeks ago. So you really are going to need to disrupt him.
You mean even without their starting tight end?
It ain't going to matter. They don't throw to him anyway.
Well, that's
it
true.
ain't going to matter. I mean, so if you can't disrupt him, I think you're in a lot of trouble as the Commanders. That's my first point. My second point kind of ties into my first point, was Kyler Murray against that secondary. That secondary is the biggest weakness they have on that team.
Yes.
And again, Marvin Harrison Jr. could go off to, if this is a if this is a fantasy thing for you.
We'll say that it's going to go that way, even heading out of this game. Arizona is, of course, favored -3.5 to win today.
What?
Yeah, I know. Arizona is actually a favorite here, Ralph, and even more so because, again, you get 3 points to be at home. So -3.5, they're saying on a neutral field, Arizona would have a little bit of an advantage.
I think that's fair. I think thinking about this game, obviously and as you know me, I'm such a statistician. I'm such a statistical wizard when it comes to this stuff, right? I dig deep into the numbers, into the sabermetrics of football, if you will. I know it's not the term. I'm that guy. I read like Football Insiders, all those guys that did that stuff. I'm all into that. Not true. But one thing I will say is that there is something about the intangibles. Cliff Kingsbury coming back to his old stomping grounds, coming back to his old quarterback, and you don't think he has a chip on his shoulder, that he wants to prove something? I think that the Commandos have something really special in store for the Arizona defense. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be
an extra trick play here and there.
Yes, highly motivated to beat his former team.
Well, I think he's highly motivated, but I like the Commanders' offense. I love Jaden Daniels. They're going to have to contain him. That's not going to be easy. He's another runner, and he's got such a great arm, man. His downfield passes are ridiculous. But there's no defense in this game. This is going to be, I think the over-under on this is in the 50s, isn't it, Phil? I mean, it's like 53.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think it's 40. It was at 51, and it dropped to 49.
Yeah, we're looking at 49.5. So 50,
I'm going over
49. Over.
So,
wow.
All right. So that's okay. So this is one of those dilemmas that we run into all the time. We do it every week. We see a game and we think, oh, this is going to be a shootout, or this game is going to be a grind, right? These two great defenses going at it. What happens almost every single time? It's the exact opposite of what the pundits say.
True.
So this game, on paper, is an absolute track meet. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
Absolute track meet. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
I think that's you're right. That does happen.
I'm going to do the opposite.
Dude, in this case, these defenses are so bad. These are not good defenses.
Right. Well,
I mean, at all.
Well, Arizona's better than Washington. At least They are slightly better.
Yeah.
I mean, and plus they don't have an outrageous weakness like the Washington Commanders do in their secondary. The Arizona Cardinals are average everywhere, maybe slightly below average at some areas. I mean, depending on whether or not you have. I know that we have some injuries, so whenever you go to backups, that's automatically going to place a lower thing. But they're not. They're not atrocious. I can point to atrocious points in the Washington Commanders, specifically their secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have an awful defense against a not so awful defense.
So here's, if I were the defensive coordinator for the Commanders, or the Commandos, as we like to call them here on the show, here's what I'm doing. I am quadruple teaming Marvin Harrison Jr.
Quadruple teaming.
Wow. And I'll let the rest of the team. Okay, so I'm going to quadruple team him. I'm going to have 3 spies on Kyler Murray. Okay. This is how I'm going to scheme it, right? So you got 7 players. 7 of my defenders are committed to 2 players, and then we let the other 4 figure it out. That's what I say. That's my This is why.
And this is why you're not a coach.
This is why you should hire me as your defensive coordinator.
This is why it'll never happen, because that won't work.
Well, that's what they have to do here. You got to come up with something here to slow them down. But again, I think that it should be a track meet. But I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be one of those games where it's maybe by the third quarter or like the fourth quarter, they'll suddenly open up the offenses. But I think it's going to be I think it's actually going to be a low-scoring affair, at least in the first half.
Whatever team establishes the run wins this game. That's my opinion.
Well, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
I like it.
And both teams sport a hypermobile quarterback, which allows
it's part of the run
game. Yeah, as a part of the run in both facets.
So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at for the team that could be successful on the ground, because then if you're doing that, the air becomes very easy, right? And both these guys can throw. Now, when it comes to Kyler Murray, I've been saying it for how many years now, you've got to force him into thinking and making mistakes, because he's very good at that. Right?
He's very good at thinking.
He's very good at making mistakes. He makes
thinking about making mistakes. Ooh.
Because he'll have guys that are wide open on a pattern, and instead of throwing to that guy and taking the 10, 15 yards, he goes deep and gets picked.
Or he makes mistakes about thinking.
Right.
Which is what I do all the time.
And so you got to force him into being himself. If you can force him to start overthinking it and start trying to press, then he'll make mistakes.
So pretty much keep him in the pocket.
Well, I mean, regardless, I don't care where he is. Just force him to make the wrong throw. If you look at the game last week, I can't remember the play, but he had a guy wide open on the flat 15 yards down the field. Instead, he throws into the end zone and throws a pick. I mean, that's vintage Kyler Murray. That's what he does, right? So you got to get him to be vintage Kyler Murray. And if you can do that, then you can rattle him and beat him. I still think he can have – this is a game where he can have a game like he had against the Rams. I mean, this is that kind of possibility. I mean, this defense is just so bad. But all that being said, I still think this is a great game. This will be a fun game to watch. I love watching high school.
I would
games.
agree. Yeah. This feels like a real back and forth. I don't see either team winning in even a 10-point fashion. I think that this will be a one-score game either way.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I mean, it could be like it could be like 35-32, something like that. I mean, it could be that kind of game. And to Neil's point, I mean, Trey McBride being out with a concussion. Now, granted, they haven't been using him the way they should, but he's a good weapon, and not having him there, I think, does hurt a little bit, because he's that safety valve for you over the middle. I don't understand, and I can't understand why they just haven't been using this guy the way they should be. He should be a top 5 tight end, and he's not, because they're just not throwing the ball to him the way they should. I think except for one game. But anyway, I think him being out does have an impact, and we'll see what that does. But when you look at all this and you break it down, who wins? So
you go first, Phil.
Oh, I'll go first.
Go, Phil.
Let's see. I think the Arizona Cardinals need this game. I think this is almost a kitchen sink game. If you lose this game, it's putting you in a hole that I think starting out, looking ahead in the calendar, you circle this game. This is one of the ones that we need to win. This is a game, and the Washington Commanders now have a game to play with, coming in with a division lead. That's insane. So I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals being the more desperate team, being the more needing this win team, pulling it out. Could go either way.
You say pull it out? All right. Anyway, so
wow.
Well, listen. I'm just trying to clarify, Phil. It's okay. All right. So here's my super educated, informed take, because like I said, hard hitting analysis, right? Like
a man of science.
Weird science. Listen, I know that a lot of the big sports betting personalities that you may know about on social media or on the radio or on TV. Behind the scenes, they're talking and texting with me more than most people know. So clearly, people are seeking out my advice. Here's my advice on this game. Okay, we don't talk about betting on this show. It's just not our thing. We're not against it. We just we have 85,000 other shows that talk about it, so you can listen to them. But I would say take the under, because this is one of those things where every time it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's absolutely not going to be. I can't tell you the number of times in my personal life when I have decided to put money on a game thinking, there's no way this is going to be this, and it's always the opposite. So
I thought you were going to say when you felt like you were going to score and you didn't.
Oh, that was in high school. All right.
That was high school.
So,
okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you do. That was high school.
You weren't scoring back then.
That's absolutely correct. So I think now, I will say this. I think it's going to be a lower scoring affair than most people think, even though it should be a complete track meet. That should be like 52-50. It should be the score of this game, but it's not going to be. However, partially because of my Kyler Murray bias, which I fully admit I have, I just think that this is the game that the Cardinals should win, and they're not going to. I think the Commandos are going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be by a lot. It might be a field goal. Heck, it might be a safety at this point, right? But I think that Cliff Kingsbury has got a chip on his shoulder. He comes in. Obviously, the Cardinals are motivated too because, of their situation. And I think they want to do well anyway. But I have a feeling that the Commandos are going to walk in and take this one.
Okay. Wow.
So that's my pick.
Ralph, where are you going?
So here's where I'm at. I've already said what I wanted to say about the game. The one thing that does concern me for the Commanders is short week coming across the country. That does have an impact on how you play. I believe Eckler is out of this game.
He is.
Yes.
And I think that's a big deal. A real big deal. That's going to hurt them. I think that's bigger to the Commanders than McBride is to losing the Cardinals in this game.
So you're saying that you don't believe in Cliff Kingsbury's ability to
I don't believe in his
account
ability
for
to do
that.
anything.
Well, Thailand. Well, I believe in his ability to set a franchise on fire and then go take a long vacation in Asia for a couple of months. So that's fine.
What I do believe in is I believe in Jaden Daniels. I believe in Terry McLaurin. I think that connection is amazing. But I also believe that Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. have a heck of a connection as well.
Yes.
So that's going to be a fun duel for each side to watch. But again, across the country, after a short week, preparing for this game, I think that's a deficit. You have to give that as a deficit. Do I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray? I think he's darn close right now, and I think he'll be way better in a few years. I really like that kid, but he's going to have his ups and downs. I'm going to take the Cardinals at home. I think the Cardinals win this game. I think it's a close game. I think it's 35-32, something like that, but I just don't see them losing this game. I think this is a game for them to win.
I wish we had the breaking news sounder. Da-na-na-na. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm not going to show my
sound.
bias in my picks. I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a close game. Now, if the Commanders win, I'm surprised. I'm not, because I think Jaden Daniels is that good. But again, I think that travel across country, and I think that defense just is so horrible. It's just, if he had any kind of a semblance of a secondary, I would probably go the other way. But they just don't. They're really bad.
Yeah, they're ranked almost at the bottom, if not the bottom.
They are
passing
the bottom.
defense.
Yeah,
So I don't know, man. Like I said, it's what it should be versus what actually happens, and I think we've seen on multiple occasions in this early season that the pundits like us are completely wrong for so many reasons. I mean, the Cardinals, I think the Rams were favored in that game they were favored by like a couple of points in that game where they destroyed the Rams.
Yeah.
So it's like anything can happen.
Anything can happen
in the National Football League.
Okay, with that said, we're going to go to break. On the other side of the break, we got our picks for the week. We got 5 other games we're going to be talking about. So we got this one out of the way, and we'll see who's going to do what. And we'll talk about where we are as far as our standings with picks and everything else. It's a Weekend Warriors Football Sunday on 1580, The Fanatic.
I'm ready to melt with you boys. Here we go. You're live.
It's a Weekend Warriors on 1580, The Fanatic.
Well, you're not going to sing for this one?
Little modern English.
I'll stop the world and melt with you if you want to be.
What movie did this get famous in?
Oh, and you're going to ask me that.
Come on, what movie?
Don't know.
Valley Girl.
Oh, I didn't watch that movie. It looks
That's where we grew up, man.
It looks stupid. I didn't have to watch the movie.
For sure.
I had the song. I had Moon Unit
Totally.
Zappa. By the way, if you want to get on the show, and in a couple of minutes, we're going to have Scott the King to talk about your fantasy football picks, your last-minute fantasy football adjustments. So join us on the text line, 888-368-1580. That's the Fanatic text line, 888-368-1580, and be a part of the show.
Bombastic.
Be a part of the show.
All right, let's get into our picks. Our
picks.
Beautiful picks.
We got picks. We got lots and lots of picks.
Let me look at the record here so far this season, because I know that makes Phil very, very
Oh,
happy.
Phil loves to hear this part of the show.
So
absolutely.
Me and Neil are both 11-7.
How are we tied?
I don't, because you keep copying my picks.
You're so much smarter than I am. How are we tied?
And then Phil is 4-14.
He's a lot smarter than that.
How is he picking the Broncos?
How is he 4-14?
I don't know.
I think of it as a blessing, guys.
You're the smartest guy in the room, buddy.
You get to fade me each and every week, and you have a profitable time. Look at that. Look at that. You got to think positive.
He's spotting us, is what he's doing.
I don't like being spotted.
He's going to spot us a bunch of runs, and he's going to take over. He's going to be the champion by the end of the season. You watch.
Wow. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. Oh, now it's like challenge accepted.
Now, remember, for picks, the 1580 The Fanatic does have the NFL Fan Pick'em contest.
Woohoo!
First place is $1,580, sponsored by Harman Solar. Second place is a nice diamond tennis bracelet from Diamond Dave's Desert Warehouse Diamonds. And then we have weekly awards from Kasai Japanese Steakhouse, where you get a $50 weekend prize. So go to the 1580fanatic.com. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, there's a link to go for Pool Host. Pool Host is where the pick contest is. The ID is 94030, and the password to join is Harmon, lowercase HARMON. Get in there. Even if you can't catch up for the season prizes, you still can win that weekly $50 prize from Kasai Japanese Steakhouse, which if you've ever been there, it's a great place to go eat. So with that being said, and obviously I want everyone to know that as far as all the hosts that are on radio shows on 1580 Fanatic, I'm in first place. So we'll just leave
But
it at
here's
that.
the sad part is you're not eligible for these prizes.
I'm eligible for nothing.
Right. That's what your wife said many years ago.
Okay. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start. I'm going to do this game first. Let's start with the most confusing game of the week. Cincinnati and Carolina.
So, first of all, I want to know, how do you decide what games to put on here?
I would like to know that methodology
You're a
as well.
sadist.
This is what I do. I pick our game. So I know that you like the Packers. I like the Seahawks. I know Phil's a Bronco guy. So I make sure I get those 3 games. We always will do the Cardinal game.
Yes,
right?
so we have 2.
Because we have a segment for that. So that's our 4th game. And then I have to pick 2 more. So I picked the absolute worst, most confusing game of the week, which is the Panther game this week. And then I try to find a decent game that's hard to pick. And so that's
So
what
you're
I do.
a sadist is what you
So,
are.
like, for instance, I said Saints in Atlanta, I thought it's a pretty good game. I mean, that can go either way, so I thought I'd throw that out there. And then the confusing game is the Cincinnati and Carolina. So let's start with Cincinnati and Carolina. Neil, what do you think?
So if you had this matchup last week, I would have said, no question, Joe Shiesty gets on the board, gets a win against a hapless Carolina team. Well, the Red Rifle changed all that. And yeah, what's interesting too is that now part of the issue, I think, and again, this is that deep, hard-hitting analysis that everybody loves here on the Fanatic and on the Weekend Warriors, but I think that Joe Burrow's wardrobe choices the last couple of weeks have been questionable, and I think that he needs to get back to more of a standard basic uniform. He's got to stop looking like a WNBA player going to a game. He's got to just be himself, okay? So I think if he does that, there's a chance. However, in this game, I honestly want to root for Andy Dalton. And let's face it, put yourself in Andy Dalton's shoes. He's going to be playing against his old team, the one that didn't think he was good, and they let him go essentially for Joe Shiesty. So I think Andy Dalton's motivated. I think he is. They've breathed new life into this hapless offense, and somehow the defense is also playing better. I don't know how that is, but I think that momentum carries them, and I pick Carolina in this game, probably by at least a touchdown.
Wow.
Yep.
That is very bold.
Bold.
Okay, Phil, on you.
Yeah, I look, I think that I can believe in the Red Rifle as much as anybody. I think he's certainly a marked improvement over Bryce Young. But to your point, Neil, he's faced his former team before. Yes, we associate him with the Bengals, but he's started with 3 other teams. 3 other teams against them, and he's 2-1. Remember, he played against them during the COVID year as the Cowboys started for the Bears, started for the Saints, and he's 2-1, aiming to go 3-1 today, of course. Look, what I believe in, and this is my research. This is where it all comes down to. I believe in how bad the Raiders are. That's what I want to place my faith in. And I think that we're going to look back on the end of the year, and there's always just a weird game where you're like, why did the Ravens blow that game? Why did the Chiefs lose to the random Bengals, or just somebody random, the Jaguars? And I think that we're going to look back, and the Raiders' one win against the Ravens is just going to be that weird outlier game that the Ravens are ripe for. I don't think that the Raiders are that good. I'm going to place my faith in that and go with the fact that the Carolina Panthers were able to put up a massive burger on them as just being the outlier, and put my faith in Joe Burrow and go Bengals and over the Panthers. And I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
Shiesty.
Yeah, I don't think this is close either. I am not going to sit there off of one stupid game and say Carolina is now going to be this team.
Woohoo!
That's just not going to happen.
That's right.
they're bad. They're just a bad team. I understand what they did last week. I'm with Phil. I think the Raiders are just terrible. I really do.
So wait, you're saying the terrible team, terrible players, terrible coach, terrible organization, terrible stadium?
Sure. I'm gonna say all that. But I cannot pick the Carolina Panthers. I just will not do that. I cannot do that.
What is this, some religious thing?
No, it's just
it goes against his beliefs as a person.
Would you give
as
up
a
the
fan.
Panthers?
The Bengals are better than 0-3. They just are. They're not an 0-3 team. They're better than that. They're going to show that this week. They're going to break out, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and take the Bengals. Real quick on the text line, so drives a lot. I'm not going to say. Well, he doesn't like the Broncos. I'll just leave it at that.
How dare you, good sir?
And Silver Pops basically says, "Good morning. Finally was able to listen in. Great show. Let's go Cardinals." Yeah, let's go Cardinals. All right, so that's that game. Let's go to the next game. Let's go to
Which game are we going to,
Let's
Ralph?
go to the Bronco game.
The
Why
Broncos
don't we?
versus the Jets.
Phil, I'm gonna let you start.
Do it.
This is your team.
Bless your heart. Look, if I'm anything and I'm wrong, use that, baby. Use it. So for the second week in a row, I'm going to pick against my Broncos. Look, I can't make the case for the Broncos. They had their season. They had their win. That is just culminating that they're going to be bathing in for the entire week. Whereas the Jets, they've not only had their win against a get-right game against the Patriots, they had that a whole week and 3 days ago. They've had plenty of time to even just see how the Broncos want to operate, see what they are looking to do. They have the defensive secondary and personnel to do that, to combat that. And also Robert Saleh is really good as a defensive coordinator. So you can't sit there and say that he won't be able to confuse Bo Nix, that he won't be able to do this or that. I all my questions about the Jets are with their offensive unit and how creative they can be. The Broncos are stingy for sure. I don't think that it'll be a massive outpouring for the Jets. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do trust in them to edge it out and get a victory here. Maybe a late field goal, something like that. It feels like the Jets haven't done that one yet. So let's go with that. Jets by 3 against the Broncos.
Okay, Neil.
So it's funny in that entire and I agree with everything Phil said. So we're on the same page there. But something that we haven't talked about, and it's a super blatant oversight, is what did somebody call him? I think you said this. His name is Aaron Rogan.
Oh, wow.
Aaron Rogan. So Mr. Ashwagandha, whatever that thing, whatever.
Ayahuasca.
Iowa. I hear Iowa in there, and that just makes it quite.
I think if you add like a couple of states, Ohio, ayahuasca, Idaho, you just kind of put a blurb out there.
Ayahuasca.
You hit the drug.
So here's what I think is, I think that this is gonna, all the things that are true. I think that Saleh's gonna scheme for him and confuse the heck out of him. But I also think this is going to be a case of our friend, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, just going off again on another defense. He's on his revenge tour now. If he were Taylor Swift, he'd have another album out. He's going to drop this week.
Jesus.
So I think that for everything you said and because of Aaron Rogan, I think that this is also a Jets win. So I'm picking the Jets in this game. I'm picking them by, I'm going to say, a touchdown or less. I don't think it'll be a huge blowout, but I think the Jets will be victorious in this game.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'll just say Jets because we're running out of time. So.
Jets.
We all agree on the Jets there. Okay.
There we go.
Let's go Packers and Vikings. I'll start. I hate you, Neil. That's how I started.
I love you.
This is an interesting game. I love this game. I'm not going to get too deep into it. I know that Darnold hurt himself last week, but I heard he's fine. He's playing. I like the connection he has with Jefferson, who's playing as well. We don't know if Jordan Love's playing or not. I don't think he should. I think he should sit one more week. I think that'd be smart if he did. Mm-hmm. I don't expect to see him today. I think it'd be a mistake if he plays. Like, hey, the Packers are playing good ball. They're running like crazy. I don't think they're going to have that run success today against the Vikings that they've been having. I think the Vikings can shut them down a little bit. I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to take the Vikings. I think they're so hot right now. And they're on such a roll, and they just seem so well connected all over. Sam Darnold just throwing dimes out there. I mean, he just looks so good. Until he doesn't, I have to stay with him. So I'm taking the Vikings.
All right, Phil. You need to do yours next because I'm going to say mine for last.
Absolutely. Neil, I'm going to give you the gift. And you know what that gift is? The gift.
A lot of money?
No, but it could be if you bet this way. I'm going to give you the gift of being all alone on Packers Island. Because I'm going with the Vikings. Look, exactly. I think that the Vikings are primed and ready to take a first stab at their division and take the head seat on the throne. Look, Jordan Love is slated to play today. There's always a chance that he could have a setback in practice, whatever. But he is slated to play today. I think that that's very dangerous. I agree with Ralph. Malik Willis is doing just fine. You've built yourself a little bit of a cushion. Freaking just wait it out. I don't think that it's a great idea to have a less than mobile Jordan Love, who is mostly a quarterback who sits in the pocket, I grant you, but he still has a little bit of mobility to his game. I think that the Vikings are set, ready, and able to take advantage of this. Go ahead, Neil. Enjoy your gift.
Thank you very much. All right, real quick. For sake of time, you all know where I stand. This is going to be an incredible matchup. This is a preview of the NFC North Championship right here. So I got to go with my Packers because I just have a bias against the Vikings. But if the Vikings win this game, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm going to say it's going to be Packers, probably a field goal.
All right, Seahawks, Lions, Phil.
Let's go with Lions.
Okay. Neil.
This is a tough one too. I really wanted to pick the Seahawks. I really did. In my heart of hearts. I hope you can feel the energy, but I'm going with the Lions because Motor City Kitties, baby. Dan Campbell serving at Applebee's. We got this.
There's a lot of reasons to take the Lions in this game because of all the injuries Seattle has. But just being who I am, I'm taking the Seahawks.
Big shocker. Whoa.
Okay, last game, real quick. Saints, Falcons. I've got the Falcons.
Falcons.
I got the Aints. The Saints go marching in, baby.
All right, so we'll see how these picks do. Stay tuned for hour 2 or half hour 2. We have Scott the King Engel coming joining us, and we'll talk about fantasy football and a couple other things. Come back real soon. It's the Weekend Warriors Football Sunday.
10 seconds.
On 1580, The Fanatic.
Go, Pat, go.
Go.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM.
It's the Weekend Warriors. Warriors, come on to play.
Yeah, here we go.
You're live.
Good NFL Sunday morning, everybody. Broadcasting live from the Weekend Warrior Studios in beautiful Peoria, Arizona. I'm Ralph Romano alongside my partner in crime, the legend, Neil Lynch. We have also Phil Emrine in the control room. And this is the Weekend Warriors Football Sunday edition, hour number 2 for week 4.
Let's call it 1.5.
1.5.
I like that's kind of nerdy.
All right.
Hey, listen, we've got Scott the King on coming up right now, but if you got some last-minute questions for him, get on the text line, 888-368-1580. That's 888-368-1580. And have your matchup questions for Scott the King.
We need some Emperor music right now.
I think so.
Some King or Emperor music.
Something left over
while
from
I'm saying, we've
Palace.
got
something
Scott
with
Engel.
Trumpets.
Yeah, trumpets would be good. So we can introduce Scott Engel of rotorball.com and Seahawks.com. He also writes for The Athletic and Sportsline.com and is an inaugural member of the Fantasy Sports Writer Association Hall of Fame and just an amazing, great guy. We love Scott. Scott, good morning to you.
First rule of radio is to unmute your microphone.
Well,
I've heard that rule.
Oh, man.
How are you doing, Scott?
Good, and I love you guys too.
I love that I can get on here every Sunday morning and get the love from Scott the King. I love that.
All right.
Hey, real quick, I'm just going to start off because I already have a first question on there, and then I'm going to let Phil take over. But question for the King. This is from Sir Drives a Lot. Non-PPR, Mahomes or Kyler?
I'm going with Kyler Murray. Washington's defense might be the worst in the league. That game, I believe, has an over-under total of 50.5 on the sports books, which means it's going to be the highest scoring game of the week. So I think you probably need to trade one of those. You don't need to carry, both Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes. I'd probably try to trade Mahomes if I could. There's probably a case where a guy, maybe drafted. Sorry. Second rule: don't sneeze on the air. All the rules today. This is a case where a guy, probably drafted two quarterbacks too early, and that's the dilemma you end up in. So you got to trade one of them. Start Kyler Murray this week.
Okay, there you go.
Scotty, let's go to the quarterbacks as we mostly focus on them. Jordan Love is probably the big highlight this week, with him coming in with a questionable tag, though slated to play today against that 7th-ranked pass defense of Minnesota that's caused a lot of problems for young QBs in this league thus far in their early slate. Is he somebody that you can start with confidence, or that you would go to a backup if viable?
I think we're past the point with Jordan Love where he's a young quarterback that you should be scared playing him against a good defense. I think it's more the health thing. Usually my rule is if a team deems a guy to clear to play, I play him for my fantasy lineup, but there's been reports that he might be subbed out a little bit for Patrick Willis, that he's not 100%. So I don't have him ranked in my top 15 updated player rankings on rotoballer.com today.
So then let's go to somebody who is younger and somebody who's had struggle both fantasy and in real life football. Caleb Williams faces a juicy Los Angeles Rams secondary there, ranked 30th against the pass. Is this the beginning, Scott? Is this where we can finally start Caleb Williams in a fantasy sense with ease and with confidence, or are you waiting to see it and then start?
I'm waiting to see it in most cases in a super flex league where you can start a second quarterback to take advantage of the matchup. But I think Williams is going to do good today, but he hasn't shown us enough yet where I could start him over, say, Brock Purdy or Geno Smith, who has a good matchup as well, or Baker Mayfield. It sometimes is not just about the matchup. It's about people will sometimes, especially if they haven't played fantasy football for long, they might veer towards starting a guy just at the better matchup. But it's really about what the player is capable of and the matchup. Because, what if this guy just throws for, say, 265 yards and 1 touchdown?
Yeah, that could certainly be a problem if such was the case. How about Scott Lamar Jackson? He's somebody. He's a fantasy stalwart. He is somebody that you can usually have as a steady force in your lineup. Set it, forget it. However, he is playing against a 6th-ranked Buffalo defense here for quarterbacks. Any hesitation whatsoever, or are we still in the set it, forget it, no matter what matchup?
No, you didn't draft Lamar Jackson to bench him, and again, the defense doesn't always win the matchup. Plus, Buffalo's dealing with a lot of key injuries on defense too. You don't bench Lamar Jackson. That's the other thing, and I'm not saying you're an inexperienced fantasy player, but I'm telling this for people who've played less, because you guys have mentioned, there's some people I know played for the first time. You don't bench a guy just based on the matchup. The defense doesn't always win the matchup, and the top fantasy players are the top fantasy players because they can produce potentially against any level of competition.
You mentioned him earlier. Brock Purdy faces a middle-of-the-road New England defense for quarterbacks. However, they do have one of those quarterbacks that is ascending, cornerbacks who is ascending, that we all are starting to believe is something of a shutdown corner in Christian Gonzalez. If you have Brock Purdy, do you look towards a backup, or are you starting pretty faithfully?
He's my number 12 ranked quarterback. Again, there's always context with these choices. It depends on who else you have. Christian Gonzalez can't cover everybody by himself. We saw DK Metcalf take off and catch a 51-yard touchdown pass against his secondary, 2 weeks ago. So, Purdy is not a top 10 start, but I think he's going to have a pretty good day because that New England defense probably spent a lot of time on the field regardless because their offense is so limp.
Last quarterback here for a little bit. Sam Darnold came away a little bit limped. All signs are clear. He's cleared to play. No designation tag even. But against a Green Bay team that has a pretty stout defense in what is considered to be a very fierce rivalry division game, any hesitation with Sam Darnold if his mobility is questionable here?
Yeah, I heard, but I didn't.
I haven't seen anything that the mobility is questionable. It's just a bruise from what I read. Darnold's coming off a 4-touchdown game, but before that, it was pretty much like 2 touchdowns, etc. I don't expect a lot of upside from Sam Darnold today. Again, as with all these other questions, it's depends on who else you have. I wouldn't be starting him over Brock Purdy. I wouldn't be starting him over Baker Mayfield, but I would start him over Caleb Williams.
Right. Now, let's go to the running backs. We saw James Conner versus Washington's 20th ranked defense. Washington has a sieve of defense right now. But he did put up, James Conner did a dud last week against Detroit in their defensive line, only putting up 3.5 points in standard PPR leagues. Can you go back to the well again with James Conner against Washington, or do you think that maybe look towards other running backs?
No, I have him ranked top 8 this week. That's going to be the highest scoring game on the board, which means he can get in the end zone more than once.
How about Tony Pollard? He's going against a 28th ranked Miami defense for the rush. He's been something of a sensation at least the first 2 weeks of the season, and then last week kind of came back down to earth. Are you more appealing, looking at the matchup and saying I'm going to start him no matter what?
He's not a must-start guy. He had a down game last week, an okay game. Second week, I'm ranked 21st running back on rotoballer.com. I wouldn't be starting him over, say, Chuba Hubbard or Kenneth Walker. But, I do like the matchup. Miami's run defense has not been good, so I think he's an okay start as a running back, too.
I have a question. When you just mentioned Kenneth Walker, so I think he's actually playing today. Is that correct? Did you hear that?
No, he's playing tomorrow, actually.
I'm sorry, not today. I'm sorry. See, I'm messed up.
Yeah.
So he is playing tomorrow. I mean, is he somebody you're starting tomorrow?
Yeah, he's off the injury report. My rule is always if the team deems him ready to play with no pitch count, I deem him ready to play.
So no matter what, whenever they say, hey, he's playing, you're on him. You're okay with that guy starting.
Yeah, because if the team's not going to put him out there, they're not going to risk Kenneth Walker if he's not ready to play.
I got a confusing one here, Scott, and help solve it for me. Solve me this dilemma here. I've got Ramondre Stevenson, who has a tremendous workload, certainly, and certainly put up the numbers to boot in the first 2 games of the season. And then in an early Thursday night game against the New York Jets, kind of just disappeared there. He's going up against a San Francisco team that is just reeling in a lot of different facets, but they still seemingly should be good against the run. What do you do with Ramondre Stevenson if you have him as a decision in your lineup?
Well, actually, the 49ers haven't been good against the run so far this year. That said, I think the Patriots might have to abandon the run here, and as they fall behind. And they're also not equipped to play well in catch-up. This could be another bad offensive week for the Patriots. So Stevenson's not in my top 25 running backs.
Wow. Okay, so there you go.
Let me ask, what do you quarterback-wise? I know you already talked about a bunch of quarterbacks, but what do you think about Andy Dalton? I mean, after what he did last week, what are you looking from him this week?
Well, revenge game, good matchup. But again, depends on who else you have. I would start him over Caleb Williams, but I wouldn't start him over Brock Purdy or Geno Smith.
Right.
Scott, when we look at underperforming fantasy draftees, none seem to be higher on that list, perhaps, than DeAndre Swift, who faces a very forgiving Los Angeles Rams defense for the run, but only scoring 5 or 8.2 or 6.2 points this entire season each week leading into this matchup. Can you go once more and start DeAndre Swift, or is this a situation where you set him aside and wait for the results to be yielded and then you'll go?
Yeah, I set him aside. There's a lot of reports that Roschon Johnson is going to see an increased workload this week, and he was an internal favorite of the Bears since last year. So I'm playing Roschon Johnson over DeAndre Swift.
What about for Rachaad White? Look, he's coming in with an injury tag, but he's been horrible with rumblings of backup Bucky Irving taking his spot. Can you start and continue to go with Rachaad White until you see it happen, until the backup takes the job here, or are you just going to try and see if you can find another flex option?
I don't think you can leave him in the lineup and wait for him to lose his job, but he's on the injury report with an illness, so he should be good to go. It's not something physical, like a knee or a shoulder or something like that. Bucky Irving's dealing with a hamstring, so if I had to pick one of the two Tampa Bay running backs this week, it would be White.
Let's go to the wide receivers, and I think the biggest news heading into today, or even from last night, was that Devontae Adams is out. Are there any wide receivers that you can kind of trust for the Raiders in his stead against the Browns, Scott?
I don't know if trust is the word, but Jacoby Myers will probably get a lot of targets. I don't like him as a number one wide receiver, NFL wide receiver for the Raiders to put up great numbers. But if you're struggling to find a wide receiver 3, a flex option, he could give you a decent floor.
If you were struggling to find a wide receiver last week, you might have gone to the waiver wire and picked yourself up a nice Juwan Jennings outing that is almost of historic proportions. He put up nearly 40 points, depending on your league format, against the Los Angeles Rams. Now Juwan Jennings is slotted back to his third wide receiver role, with Debo coming back to play, we think, against the New England Patriots. Can you start Juwan Jennings if you were thin at wide receiver, or are you now going to drop him and see if you can find somebody else?
I wouldn't cut him just yet. And, you don't want to be worried about ad drops 45 minutes before kickoff. At this point, it's about getting your lineup fine tuned. There's no way you can start Juwan Jennings today.
So we talked earlier about Jordan Love coming back, and weirdly enough, a player that people have associated, almost linked to Jordan Love, is his wide receiver, Jaden Reed, who seems to have emerged as something of a favorite for Jordan Love. Is he somebody that, if you had him on the bench while Jordan Love is away, if Jordan Love plays today, which we believe he does, can you start Jaden Reed with confidence as the Packers wide receiver of choice?
I would start him over Dobbs or Watson with confidence, but with the Packers wide receivers, you never know which one is going to go off in a given week, and they're playing against a tough Minnesota defense. So I have him ranked as wide receiver 35.
If we're talking about injured wide receivers, another big one is Tank Dell. Now, usually, weirdly enough, it doesn't affect the Houston Texans team, we think, as much as other teams, because they've got a tremendous wide receiver, too, in Stephon Diggs. And they're also got a great matchup against Jacksonville in a 25th ranked defense who've just given up everything to Buffalo this last Monday night. Is Stephon Diggs somebody that is a must start this week?
I think we've gotten past the point with him in his career where he's a must start. But he is a quality wide receiver 3 start today. Like you said, good matchup with Tank Dell out. He can post some respectable numbers.
If we look towards must starts, one who's starting to lose that confidence and is still young in his career is Garrett Wilson, who faces a tremendous Denver defense, if I do say.
Wow.
Ranked first against the pass as of now. Is he somebody that, if you have the ability, which one would think with a drafted team you might not, but is he somebody that you can possibly bench?
I don't think you can bench Garrett Wilson. He's that type of special talent where, again, we can't always assume that the defense wins the matchup.
And let's go once more to another hard matchup, but somebody who's a number one wide receiver on his team, which might not actually say much, is Zay Flowers. Now, Zay Flowers goes in a Sunday Night Football matchup with Lamar Jackson against the Buffalo Bills. Is Zay Flowers somebody that you can start or maybe even put in a flex position confidently, or is he somebody that you're starting to kind of get a full read on?
I think Zay Flowers is not somebody that you sit and this is where you have him. And again, that Buffalo defense is dealing with some significant injuries, so you can start him as a wide receiver 3 this week.
I have a last question for you. And this is kind of a little bit off topic, but the Seahawks defense, how concerned are you about all the injuries for Monday night against the Lions? I mean, it looks like that whole front line is pretty much decimated and gone, and I'm worried about the Lions' ability to now run on them in that game, which is, I think, what they want to do is establish the run. What are you seeing?
I wouldn't say they're completely gone because you still have Jared Reed and Jonathan Hankins up front, but it definitely hurts the depth, and Jerome Baker might be out again with the hamstring injury. Right. So, I see this as another high-scoring affair between the Seahawks and the Lions. The last 2 years, these teams combined for over 60 and 90 points. I don't know if it's going to be quite as high as 90, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game and a fantasy bonanza.
I'm a little concerned, Scott, but that's all I'm going to say. I'm pulling for the Seahawks, but I'm a little concerned. So,
look, if they win this game, they're starting 4-0 for just the third time in their team history, and then they got the Giants at home, so that could mean a 5-0 start.
Woo-hoo! That would be awesome. All right, Scott. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
By the way, last thing.
Yeah.
If Mike McDonald wins tomorrow night, he's only the second head coach since 1933 to win his first 4 games. The other was Josh McDaniels.
Wow. I love the 4-0, but I hate the Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, that comparison.
Yeah, that was a bad comp there. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
All right, it's Scott Engel of Rotorball.com, Seahawks.com, writes for The Athletic and Sportsline.com, inaugural member of Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame. Scott, we really appreciate you joining us again, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, we'll also see you Thursday night with Jeff as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to be with Jeff. You know how much I love that. Take
Bye,
care,
Scott.
Thank you. It's Weekend Warriors on 1580 The Fanatic.
You're like,
Do not start singing, Ralph.
It's the Weekend Warriors on 1580 The Fanatic.
Wow, it's brutal here in the studio.
Look, just relax.
Frankie goes to Hollywood. So, Ralph, remember last week?
No, I do not.
Do you remember last week?
I barely remember the last hour.
It's pretty obvious. So last week, we talked about the teams who were 0-2, and we talked about their percentage of the likelihood they're going to make the playoffs or even win the whole thing, and then which teams they were. So now we have a much smaller group to talk about. Let's talk about the 0-3 teams. First of all, and this is for Phil as well, obviously, who are those 3 teams? Here's a hint. They're all in the AFC.
Ralph, I can bring in 2. Let's go Jaguars and Bengals.
Okay, that's the 2. Yes. What's the third one?
Who's the third one?
Who's the third one?
No, that's not them.
Is it the Patriots? Yeah, I know. The Patriots won. I'm trying to go through my list.
I can wait.
It's not Cleveland. Cleveland won a game, right?
Correct.
Cleveland won a game.
Raiders won a game.
Oh
my gosh.
Oh, it's the Titans.
That's it. Ding, 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 ding. The Tennessee Tuxedos.
That's not even a football team.
Correct. So the Bengals, Jaguars, and Titans are the only winless teams remaining in the National Football League. So let's talk about the odds that they could win the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Well, hang on. We'll get there. We're building up to it. Since 1990, there have been 162 teams who opened the season 0-3. How many of those teams, not a percentage, how many of those 162 teams ended up making the postseason?
Making the postseason?
Correct. Since 1990, 162 teams.
12.
Okay, what do you got, Phil?
I think it's way low. I think it's like 3.
Okay, if we were playing Price is Right, Phil would have won because the answer is 4. Only 4
Wow.
teams made the post. That's 2.5%.
That's horrible.
So now, of those 4 teams, how many of those 4 teams actually end up winning their division?
1.
You've got like 4 options for answers.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go with 2. No, actually, you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm going to go with 3. 3, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
1.
Ralph would have won that round of Price is Right. It was 2.
I was on it.
had it, dude.
Close.
I had it.
You
Start
had
thinking
it in your grasp.
Stop thinking.
And you let it slip like Diddy's baby oil. Anyway, so
wow.
Now,
give me that bottle.
So here's the best one, and this is probably a little more obvious. How many of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl?
Zero.
Zero.
Zero. That's right. So if you're a Bengals fan or a Jaguars fan or a Titans fan, I hate to tell it to you, man, your team's not going to win the Super Bowl, statistically speaking. Now, can it happen?
No.
Obviously, but also monkeys might fly out of my rear end, so it doesn't matter, right?
I've seen
it. That's weird. So Bengals, Jaguars, Titans, y'all just enjoy your season. Find joy where you can. Enjoy the moments, because when the season, you might make the playoffs. Heck, you might even win your division, but you're not going to win the Vince Lombardi Trophy. So of those three teams, all right, so now, final question. Of those three teams, if there were a team to buck the odds, which one, you only get to pick one, which one of these three teams are going to make the playoffs?
The Bengals.
The Bengals.
Okay, I think that was pretty unanimous.
Well, they're the most talented of the three.
Yeah, that's unanimous. Okay, so the Bungles are still going to make the playoffs.
Well, out of those three, if they do. I'm not saying they are, but
well,
they're the best chance.
Bengals haven't played a division game yet, which I think is out of the games that you must win. Those are pretty high, and they have an ability to win within their division.
They have to win today.
Certainly, yes.
If they don't win today, then I'm done. They have to win today.
You're done what?
I'm just done thinking they're going to do anything.
So you're going to,
because usually they're that bounce back team, right? They're that team that starts slow and then they start playing.
You're going to get off the Joe Shiesty bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too much talent there to not start playing good ball.
Well, see, that's my problem too. Is I had Shiesty going pretty high this year, and he's making me, like I've had some conversations with Joe off to the side, like, listen, dude, you're making me look bad on my show, my radio show in Phoenix here. So you gotta come correct. So, but again, I still don't think they're going to win this week.
So Phil, what are you looking forward to today? What's the one thing you really can't wait to see?
Well, I know that it's going to be something, but I have the only bet that I have that I am invested in is with the NFC South. Lord help me, NFC South division winner, and so for me, I think it's pivotal for this NFC clash that is going to be for the South. We're looking at the Saints and Falcons. I'm interested on both accounts. The Saints looked more valid, but in a loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons keep seeming to find their footing, but at the end of the day, they only have one win on the season. This is an incredibly important game.
All right. Neil, what are you looking for?
1 minute.
Well, obviously, I'm looking forward to the Vikings-Packers game. They are playing in Lambeau, but that hasn't always been a huge advantage for them lately.
Right.
I think the Vikings team's really, really good, so I'm pulling for my Packers, but I am actually curious to see this game. I think it's going to be a great game.
I'm actually looking forward to watching Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray go off. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. I wish I could go to that game and watch it. I think that's going to be an exciting game. That's just a great football game, in my opinion. We'll
30.
see. So, another great week of football talk. We have another great week of games ahead of us here in the next half hour.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, enjoy your games. Enjoy your teams. I hope you guys all win. And those of you that don't, sucks to be you. Nah, I'm just kidding. Anyway, hey, enjoy your football Sunday. And we'll be back with you next week again. It's the Weekend Warriors Football Sunday on 1580 The Fanatic.
Ralph wasn't kidding.
Go Hawks!